we can lengthen and enrich their lives. So when you give to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, you're giving a kid some breathing room.
KSTP TV, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Channel 5.
This week, how the women's gymnastics team from the University of Minnesota won a national ranking. Why a university librarian went looking for thousands of missing people. How agricultural students on the Waseca campus get on-the-job training before they're on the job. And why a woman from Duluth decided to spend the rest of her life sailing the seas on luxury liners. All of these stories on this week's edition of Matrix with your host, Peter Graves.
Today we're in Wilson Library on the University of Minnesota's Minneapolis campus. This room contains government publications, just one of the outstanding collections available here. Taken together, the university's libraries rank as one of the largest systems in the entire country. And just as the university offers opportunities in learning for men and women, so too does it offer opportunities in physical activities for both men and women.
Meet the backbone of the Minnesota gymnastics squad. Teresa Schneider, sophomore from Minneapolis. Teresa is a superior all-around gymnast. Last year was Region 6 champion in all-around, bars, floor exercise, and vaulting. Robin Hubner, sophomore from Minnetonka, also an all-around gymnast. First place in bars, all-around, and floor in Big Ten last year. Judy Klein, freshman from Medina, placed second on vault, third on bars at Minnesota State Championship. Lynn Ellingson, senior from Owatonna, out 2 seasons with a broken leg, 1978 Big Ten champion in vaulting. Carrie Plouffe, sophomore from Shakopee, first in beam and 6th all-around at Region 6 Championship, second in beam at Big Ten. They are just part of the team, and the team is just part of the reason why the Gophers have improved so much over the last 8 years. Catalin Deli is head coach, and one of the other reasons.
Gymnastics is my whole life, practically. I started as a young little girl being as a gymnast. I grew up in gymnastics, with gymnastics. My husband is a gymnast. I have 2 sons. They both in gymnastics.
No, you do fine. Keep your legs straight, watch your form.
Assistant coach Gabor Deli is yet another reason.
Why do I like gymnastics? Because that's in my blood. I started out when I was 11, and since then I competed 10 years for a national team for Hungary. And that's just love gymnastics, simple as that.
Both Catalin and Gabor competed on the Hungarian national team, and Gabor competed in the 1968 Olympics. He joined his wife as assistant coach in 1977 when the budget was increased to allow for 2 coaches. Has the fact that they are married affected the team?
Good! I think it is better because they can talk about it all the time, and, you know, they can get things organized together, and I think it's better that they are married.
The fact that the coaches are married makes it a little closer team and closer knit. Everyone knows each other pretty well, and we can get into some really good discussions about what we really feel.
If they're disagreeing about something, like a way a skill should be done, you know, it kind of causes tension, I think, you know, because they both have their own, you know, coaching techniques, you know. They're both different people. But basically, it's pretty good, I think.
The increased budget has had an effect in other ways.
Coaching here from 1973, and that time we really didn't even have a gymnasium or no facilities. We had to set up all these gymnastic equipments every day for a 2-hour workout and also take down every day. So other PE classes would be able to be held in the same area. And also our traveling budget for the whole year was about, not just the traveling, the whole budget for the whole gymnastic, I think it was about $600 if I remember correctly. And I think we're coming a long way.
We have a pit, we have full-size mirror, we have choir floor, we have everything. Not the nicest facility, but the best.
The best equipment and a style that is a little different from what some of the team is used to.
They're not real pushy with
Then pull your toes.
making us do things, you know. You've got to have the motivation and the, you've got to set your own goals and strive for you know, things that you want to reach. And, you know, they're not going to make you do it.
We get help with all our skills technically and try to coach us, you know, psychologically so that we're at our peak for every event, every performance, so that we know we can do it before we go out there. You know?
10 bucks. You're gonna make it. Good. That's good, Rob. Huh? Very good.
Like most people, soon to be 90, Claire Gonska lives alone. Home for Claire is a drab, one-room apartment. Her front yard, Manhattan's Lower East Side, a neighborhood that stirs in her the same sense of adventure that took her around the world.
I'm looking at that little C4 pornographic movie that they stuck in there between the apartment houses. And I see the top of it, and it's only 1 story high. And I can't see where there could be a space inside for anybody to sit. It seems just like a doorway, and that's about all. I've been trying to get somebody to take me in there, but nobody will.
Born in the 1890s, Claire Gonska grew up in Duluth, Minnesota. Claire's father, a stern German with a soft spot for the theater, ran a saloon in the port city. When the children weren't off to a play or the opera, the bar room became Claire's playground.
And then I used to sneak behind the bar. I used to love blackberry brandy. And the bartender there was Walter Grams. He was a fine old guy. I always liked him because he gave me a little shot glass full of brandy, which my father never allowed. When my dad was there, no doing, I wouldn't even go there. But with Walter there, he was an easy guy, and I used to go and get my brandy almost every day.
After Claire finished high school, she studied acting at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. She loved theater studies and starred in the senior play. But even in college, her childhood antics hadn't changed a bit.
And the teachers used to make me sit up in the front seats in the classrooms. This I didn't like because you couldn't carry on, you know, some tricks or things that you wanted to do, that you could do in the back of the room. So anyway, that's where I had to sit. And it sort of cut off my idea of doing funny things in the classroom to make people laugh.
After graduation, Claire became a principal in rural Minnesota high schools, but she soon grew bored and set out for the stage in New York. In New York, Claire met up with a classmate from Minnesota, got an agent, and worked vaudeville. Her routines, stand-up comedy, sight gags, and puppet shows, for which she did 13 voices in a single act. There were stage shows, private parties, and what seemed to be the beginnings of a theater career.
And then suddenly we saw an ad in the Gaiety, the newspaper that the theatrical people used. And they wanted some American-speaking English actors and actresses over in London. Well, how to get there was our next thought. Well, there was the Cunard liner, the Majestic, was tied up at a pier on West 14th Street. And we thought we ought to go over there and see if we could get a job. We hadn't any idea what kind of jobs were on ships, but we decided that we'd go and find out. So we went over there, and then we went right through the big gate, you know. Each pier has a big gate with a guard there. And we didn't even look at him. We just went right by him and onto the pier. So we went aboard, we went up and got aboard, went up and tried to get aboard, and they wanted to know where our passes were. And we had no passes. So anyway, we said, let's take a chance. So we went over the first-class gangway, and at the end of it, there was a master-at-arms that helped you down from the last step, you know, onto the deck of the Leviathan. He said, your passes, and we just pointed to our library cards. And he said, okay, and waved us on. So we went on, and we got into line.
The day she boarded the Leviathan was the turning point in Claire's life. She never got the stage jobs in London, but fell in love with ships and the sea. All told, she sailed on close to 50 of the world's most famous luxury liners. She crossed 5 oceans, visited most of the major islands, and tied up on every continent. Officially, Claire worked as a stewardess, but did a little entertaining on the side.
And we had a big living room where we used to get together and have jam sessions, and if we wanted to stage a party among ourselves, we did that too. There's a nice little tugboat coming across the bay there. I don't know what people do today. They make trips so fast. They can see England and Germany and France and everything in a week or two. And I don't think they see the half of the things they should. You go so fast to Europe now that makes your head swim when you think about it.
Since Claire moved to New York in 1919, she's made this neighborhood her home. She's active with senior citizen groups, a supporter of the Metropolitan Opera, and in love, she says, with the sidewalks of New York. But weather and her sea legs permitting, Claire can usually be found at the South Street Museum, a maritime showcase not far from the very pier she sailed from in 1923.
Well, it was what I was interested in. I wanted this. I loved it.
Claire Gonska never married. Family and friends have scattered. She hasn't visited Duluth for several years. Her only voyages now are in letters. Letters filled with the memories she's tucked away in the 4 corners of the globe.
Of course, travel is the greatest teacher in the world. And you go back to where seeing is believing. And when you see all these things, and all the things that have been created and built and have been saved for years and centuries and so on and so forth, it's really worthwhile.
Well, I wanted to find out when I went out in POP if I wanted to do lab work or if I wanted to be working more with the animals. And at my POP station, I found out I really enjoyed the lab work. It was a lot of fun, and I'd like to do that type of work after I graduated. And if I went out on POP and found out I didn't like it, I was going to switch majors to a different one.
The University of Minnesota Waseca is a highly specialized technical college serving Minnesota's food and fiber industry. An essential part of each student's education at UMW is a 12-week on-the-job internship program called Pre-Occupational Preparation, or POP. Donna Heelan, an animal research major, chose to spend her POP quarter working at Midwest Breeders, a cooperative providing artificial insemination services to farmers in a 5-state area. She worked at Midwest Breeders' Stewartville facility just south of Rochester.
I didn't really expect to be getting hands-on experience quite as much as I did. I've just done everything, just all types of jobs, like actually working with the bulls in the pens and around them, and actually working with the microscopes and spectrometers and the packaging machines and everything. So it's been really good.
I told them both that I didn't care to be a babysitter for people for 12 weeks or 16 weeks. I didn't know that I had the time to spend with them, but because of the tremendous enthusiasm and the attitude that these young people have brought in here, as well as their willingness to do most anything, I've just changed my attitude, and I feel we have a lot to give to them. I try and sit down every week or two and spend an hour or two in the afternoon going over some of the other things within the organization that they may not be in contact with here at Stewartville. Being that in the genetic program, which we like to teach them a little bit and have them work in this field so that they get a general knowledge of what's going on.
I enjoy working with animals, and the work experience here has really given me the chance to work with animals.
Donna grew up on a farm near Goodhue, Minnesota, but many UMW students come from non-farm backgrounds, and the POP work experience gives them an inside look at the occupation they have chosen.
Students at our college, since we're a technical college, we felt that they had to get 12 weeks on the job sometime before they graduate in the area in which they're choosing their career. And so we set it up that they would be with us at least 2 quarters, must complete at least 24 credits before they're eligible to go out. Then they go out any time after that, up until the last quarter. So if a student wants to work with a fertilizer plant, that's where he goes, to a fertilizer plant. If he wants to work with a flower shop, that's where they go, to a florist.
Oh, it's benefiting us in a great many ways. I guess, first of all, we need the help. We're not a charity organization. We need the help, and they're pulling their weight just like anybody else that's employed here, and they're expected to. And I think it's kind of interesting because you find that these young people want to pull their weight. They want to do the best they possibly can. And the other thing that it helps is I think it helps the rest of us to see these fresh young minds come in with probably a lot of enthusiasm and a great attitude, and they're just nice people to have around.
We do the placing. We just check with all the employers. We make sure the students get there for interviews. We get the interviews arranged for and out of the way, and we get the agreement signed. Then, after that, then, the student is visited twice by his instructor counselor, usually the instructor counselor. They go out on the job and visit that student twice during those 12 weeks. They check with the student to see how things are going, if there are problems that could be straightened out or whatever.
Did you get your learning goals and objectives all written out, and you're following those so you know what's going on?
Yeah, I have. I've really learned a lot.
Yeah. And they also go visit with the employer to find out what his reactions are.
How's our students doing?
Excellent.
Yeah?
Excellent. We couldn't be happier.
Well, many students come back, or most students come back and say, that was a quarter we learned the most we've ever learned in our lives.
POP comes in the middle of the UMW program, because students can find out what classes they need to round out their education, or they can make the choice to change their major. However, most students do have a renewed interest in their coursework, because they can now see how it will directly affect their future.
I can see myself probably studying harder. The work has made me realize that, hey, I'm going to be done with school, and I'm going to have to get a job, and the more I can learn from school, the easier it will be for me working at a job.
When you talk about a student who leaves a technical college, you're talking about someone different than somebody leaving a 4-year degree program. At the end of 2 years, they're out on the job. They're actually getting to work with the equipment that we don't have at the college. They meet people. They're working in a real life situation with a customer, with a fellow employee, with the employer. It's making real life out of this experience. It gives them an insight into what they're going to be doing when they graduate. And that's why we think it's very, very important to do this at our college.
This is an archives. Although that's an esoteric term for most of us, the stuff of archives are very familiar to all of us. Archives are the Valentine's cards, the diaries, the journals, the old letters from our grandmothers, the minutes of our meetings of garden clubs or other organizations that many of us can't bear to throw away. Archives are organized collections of such material which historians call the primary sources, and from which they draw their conclusions about the American past. And it occurred to me as an archivist and historian, as it did to many other archivists and historians, to turn back to our archives and ask, what about the women? Where is the record of women's experience? Is it contained in these boxes with which we are all familiar? This is the material generated during our search for evidence about women's experience in the United States. The Women's History Sources Survey, which surveyed 11,000 archives nationally, took nearly 5 years and cost almost $1 million. According to folklore in the archives profession, archives ought to contain only the material that was of interest to mainstream history. And so the bulk of our materials should have dealt with great white men and their institutions, because those were the primary interests of historians until into the 1960s. To our surprise, we found thousands and thousands of collections we didn't expect to find when we began. And that's led us to speculate that somehow women valued the past. They may have valued the continuity of one generation to another. They may have appreciated history. They may have appreciated their own contributions. Somehow the materials that they created and maintained, the materials that they had custody of, found their way into archives and manuscripts repositories. What is it that makes women's history sources worth reading, makes it a page-turner or makes it bedtime reading? It's because those 18,000 entries are mini-biographies or mini-histories of organizations, and they give you enough information about these women or about their organizations to capture your imagination and give you some appreciation of what their lives were like. Women's History Sources proves conclusively, if any of us were still in doubt, that women were human. They did it all. They were wives and mothers. We knew about that. We've added additional information about that. They were also in every sphere of our society from the colonial period to the present. They were legislators, they were congressmen, they were writers, they were physicians, they were attorneys, they were college teachers, they were arsonists, they were murderers, they were criminals. Women did do it all, and if we were ever in doubt, by opening Women's History Sources, we will no longer need to be in doubt. We've completed the survey. Now it rests with historians, other scholars, and citizens to begin the task of reinterpreting women's role in the American past. But because archives by their very nature grow, people continue to generate diaries and journals and Christmas cards and Valentines. In another 5 years, it may be appropriate to undertake a second Women's History Sources survey.
Cattails. Could cattails ever become a source of energy in the future? Well, we'll explore the possibilities in the next edition of Matrix, the program of your university and its service to the state of Minnesota. I'm Peter Graves. Join us next week on Matrix.